Hello students, my name is Prerna and I'm your EVS teacher. And today from your EVS book Enviro, we are going to be reading chapter number 12. So let us start reading this chapter. What is the name of the chapter? The name of this chapter, chapter number 12 is Who Produces the Food We Eat? So the food that we eat on daily basis, where does that food come from? Let us find out. More than half of the Indian population lives in villages. Many people in villages work in fields. They are called as farmers. Farmers of India grow many types of crops such as wheat, barley, rice, etc. And they also grow pulses and oilseeds, tea, etc. We can see the regions of our country growing different major crops in the given map. So you can see these different crops and you can see the color. So this pink shaded region produces wheat. Then this very lightish bluish green produces rice. Then the areas which are marked with the mustard color, they are the regions that produce wheat as well as rice. Then you have tea producing areas and you have cotton producing areas. So you can have a closer look at the map. So these are wheat producing areas. You can always mark them. These are wheat producing areas. These are rice producing areas. And then these are areas with wheat plus rice. Then the areas on which you see this leaf color, this particular area, this is basically your tea producing states. Then you see this figure, these are the cotton producing areas or the states. And then you have this particular shape, these are the jute producing areas, right? So India produces so many crops and so many states here are into the production of different crops. All right, so let's move further. And you can obviously try and mark these yourself as well. The growing of vegetables, grains and even fruit is called as cultivation. These cultivated plants are known as crops. Agriculture is the science or practice of cultivating land. The early people were hunter-gatherers who lived by eating wild plants and hunting wild animals. Later, they noticed that if the seeds of plants fell on the ground, new plants of the same kind began to grow there a little later. They realized that they could gather much seeds and plant them near the area where they lived. This was the beginning of farming. So when people saw that the leaves of a particular plant, when they fall, then a few of them start growing by themselves. So they picked up those seeds and started planting those seeds near to their place of residence, the place where they were residing. And then this is how farming started. They began by farming wheat, barley, peas and lentils. So these were the prime 4 crops that were cultivated. Their tools were made of stone. So earlier tools were not made of iron or copper, they were made of stone. Once their basic needs were met, they could relax and think of growing more food and making better tools and metals. Growing more food and making better tools with metals. Over the years, humans have invented new machines and methods to increase the quantity and variety of crops. Farmers make the best use they can of natural resources such as soil and climate to produce crop and rear animals. Farmers produce 2 types of crops. What are these? First is food crop. So your wheat, barley, lentils, all these are food crops. Cash crops, which are mainly used for trade purposes. So you have rubber, you have coffee, you have tea, and cotton. These are called as cash crops. Farming, the growing of crops, keeping cattle, hens, and ducks and other animals is called as farming. So what are the types of farming? So these are the various types of farming that are practiced. First is subsistence farming. That is, small farmers who only grow enough of any crop to meet their requirement only along with their families. So this is called as subsistence farming. So to sustain themselves, whatever amount is required for the family, when a farmer grows almost that much amount of crop, it is called as subsistence farming. Then you have commercial farming, that is, some farmers are commercial farmers who grow crops on a large scale to make profit. So, and they use modern machines and fertilizers and supply their product to the market from where it is supplied to common people. This is called as commercial farming. So basically, when farming is done to make a lot of money out of it, that is called as commercial farming. Then you have mixed farming. This farming involves growing plants and animals. In this farming, some farmers who raise cows and buffaloes to produce milk, butter, cheese are called as dairy farmers. Farmers who grow fruits like orchids and who grow fruits in orchids are called horticulturalists, while those who rear poultry hens like hens and ducks to produce meats and egg are called as poultry farmers. Other rear prawns, fish, etc. on fish farms and harvest the riches of the sea so as to provide food to our table. And this is also called as pisciculture. So these people are called as pisciculturists. So people who are into the basically who are into the rearing of sea animals, mostly they are called as pisciculturists. Now we come to the next topic, getting a food crop. A good crop needs a certain kind of soil and climate, good quality seeds, and just enough water for its needs. So in the previous chapter, we've studied about growth of plants. So we know there are three requirements: water, sunlight, and soil. The farmer also has to ensure that the soil remains fertile, continues to provide a healthy crop, and that crop is protected from pests. So what is pest? It is the crop-eating insect. They are called as pests. They are grown at different times of the year. So these crops are of course grown at different times of the year according to the season in which they grow best. In India, wheat, mustard, and gram are grown in winter. They need a cool climate to grow. Rice, maize, millets like jowar, bajra, jute, they are grown in summer. So, depending upon the kind of climate in which particular crop grows, it is grown in that particular season only. Now you have buying seeds. So now the crop is grown, has to be grown. So of course you need to have seeds. For a healthy crop, it is important for farmers to get healthy seeds. Farmers usually buy their seeds from seed markets and seed banks. Scientists are constantly working to develop better varieties of seeds, sometimes by crossing them with wild varieties that are resistant to disease. In the 1960s, the special revolution was started in which special international efforts were made to breed new crop varieties that would produce better yields, better products. So basically there was an effort made that let's have such kind of seeds that have a large, like that are grown in large number, and the quality is also very good. This would lead to more food from an average field to feed the fast growing population of tropical countries like India. Scientists were successful in breeding high yielding types of wheat and rice. So these seeds which were produced with this method were called as high yielding variety seeds. And this came to be known as the Green Revolution. What do you mean by revolution? When a When a phenomenal change, a positive change is brought in, it's called as a revolution. So there was a revolution that occurred in the field of agriculture, and it was called as, because green is associated, of course, with the color green is associated with agriculture. So it came to be known as the Green Revolution, when high yielding variety seeds of rice and wheat were produced. Then you have irrigation. So once you have planted the seeds, now you need proper water to be given to those seeds. Providing water for different crops in right quantity is very important. We know that all living things need water to survive. There are many methods of irrigating fields. It depends on the availability of water and the type of crop. Irrigation is the name given to the many ways of supplying dry land with water so that crops can grow. Irrigation is very important to farmers in areas of less rainfall. Water is usually supplied to the fields with the help of tube wells, electric pumps, water wheels, or canals. So these are the sources through which water is sent to the fields. Some people use sprinklers to water crops. So sprinklers are basically, they are placed in the farm at different places, generally made of iron, and they have a few holes in it. So the water, it comes out from those holes or those holes. Water flows through pipes and sprays crop in the form of rain to cover a large area. Now you have method of irrigation which is called as drip irrigation. It became popular in areas where rainfall is scanty and water is in short supply, such as Rajasthan and Gujarat. Water comes out through holes in pipes laid in a network and gives water only to the root of the plant. These pipes may be covered by soil. In most cases in India, irrigation is done through canals and water pumps or through simple device like water wheel. It is an ancient device. It is also called as rahat. It has containers which scoop up water as the wheel is turned by the oxen. So the moment the ox moves, the wheel turns and the water is poured in the plants. So it could be an ox or it could be a donkey or a camel which would be moving, and with its movement the water is poured in the fields. The farmers are now using means of irrigation like electric generators or tube wells to pump out water. These machines are common in Himachal Pradesh. The most important aspect of irrigation is that the right amount of water has to be sent to the fields, neither too much nor too little. Because again, if too much is given, again the quality of the plant will not grow, of course, and if it's too less, again the farming cannot happen. Because too little water, it will dry up the crop, and too much water can lead to waterlogging and plants too will not be able to grow. So these are images shown. This is a tube well. Then this is a sprinkler, like I told you, drip irrigation. You can see these pipes, and then you have a water wheel. All right. Now we talk about fertilizers and pesticides. Fertilizers are added to soil to make crops grow better. All right. Crops take goodness from the soil to grow. The goodness needs to be replaced for the next crop to grow as well. Organic farming. So this is a concept which has been discussed in recent years. Organic farming, and they're saying that you can even do organic farming in your house. So it's an interesting thing to go for. It uses compost and manure from farm animals to fertilize the land and other plants such as garlic to control insects. Farmers do vermicomposting. This is a process of making their own compost or manure from farm vegetable waste through the use of worms. In this process, the soil is improved gradually by the use of natural manure. Today, many farmers spray or sprinkle artificial chemical fertilizers onto the soil to make the crop grow well. They also use pesticides or chemicals to kill plants that damage crops. However, these chemicals are expensive and not all farmers can afford them. Besides, they often kill the plant and animals that the farmer does not want to kill, and very small traces of chemicals may remain in the crop. And this is the reason that we always say that when you buy vegetables from the market, always wash them before cooking. Even though organic farming produces less, it is better for the soil than farming that uses chemicals. Now we talked about process of farming. Farmers have to work hard to prepare their fields before sowing the seeds every year. The soil has to be loosened to fill air and make it ready for planting. This is done with a plow. A plow is a cutting blade fixed in a wooden frame, drawn or pulled by the farmer himself or by oxen or tractors. It makes furrows in the soil and turns it around. Next, the farmer makes ridges and furrows in the soil along the slope in curved lines so that water or wind does not carry away the soft, loose soil that has been plowed. The ground is then leveled before the planting of seeds. So why is plowing done? It's basically done to remove all the unwanted material. Then the soil is leveled. Then what happens? The seeds are planted either by drilling holes or at regular intervals with finger or through hollow bamboo shaft. Now there are even special machines to broadcast or sow the seeds. This is called drilling and dipping. When the seeds burst out of their seed coats, we say that they have germinated. Remember, we have started germination in the previous chapter, and the new plant begins to grow. Once the seeds are grown, the seedlings are removed from the nursery plot and transplanted into other flooded fields. That is where there is sufficient water. Weeds stop the growth of the plant, so even these have to be removed. And of course, fields have to be irrigated and the right amount of water is to be given. Once the crop is almost ripe, the fields are drained of all water and left to dry. Once the crop is ready, it is harvested manually or by machine. So it is now cut so that it can be sold. Harvesting is cutting down of crops or removal of fruits that are ripe. When the farmer threshes the crop, separating the rice grain from the stalk. It is followed by winnowing. So winnowing is basically the act of separating unwanted things or the dust from the crop. The seeds are separated from this husk by dropping from a level above the farmer's head. And they generally use a kind of a jute tray kind of a thing. Then the rice is sent to factory where it is milled and then polished, which removes the outer skin. Now it is ready for the market. All right. So now you can see this entire farming process. So first the soil is being taken care of. The plowing is done. Then now it is leveled, it's planted. You can see in these pictures, you can see the irrigation and the spraying of pesticides, all that is happening. And now the crop is ready. So now it is harvested, that is, it is cut. And see, this is winnowing, when they use a kind of a jute tray kind of a thing and they shake it well so that the dust is gone. And now the seeds are ready, or probably that crop is ready, and now it is sent to the market. The same grain may be used to make different dishes in different parts of the country. So we use it for making chapatis, dalia, which we also call as porridge, or pulao and idlis, right? Now, tools used in farming. So we studied about how stone tools were used in earlier days. Besides plow, other tools are used for farming. The spade is used to turn over the soil and dig holes. A trowel helps to transplant and place the seedlings. Farmers use a heavy steel rake for smoothing the soil. I'll show you the images of all these. At times they attach a heavy plank behind the tractor to level the soil, and a hoe, it is used to remove weeds. What are weeds? The unwanted plants. Once the crops are ready, the farmer uses sickle to harvest the crop. It is a semicircular knife that is used to cut the ripe crop. So Now you can see these images. So this is a troll. I'm sure you all might have seen this. This is a steel rake which is used to level the ground. These are the objects that we use in our homes, in our kitchens. And this is a sickle. So you can see this is a semicircular knife, right? So these are the different tools used. So these are the different tools that are used in the farming process. Let's move on further. Problems faced by farmers. So farmers also face a number of problems while they are involved in the farming process. Subsistence farmers rely mostly on nature for their work, that is, they rely on rainfall, which means that their job involves a number of risks. The most common problem is the lack of rain or too much of it. Because what happens? Very little rainfall again will dry up the crop, and too much of it will lead to water logging that can destroy the crop. Then you have problems like natural disasters, which are mostly unpredictable. A cyclone or a flood, or let's say an earthquake, these also hamper the crop. For instance, the tsunami of 26 December 2004 left a layer of salt over a huge number of fields in Tamil Nadu. This salt made the fields useless for farming for several months. Farmers in Andhra Pradesh have been sent to jail for not being able to pay back their loans because they had suffered, and of course, they had suffered a big loss in farming. The huge debts they had taken drove a number of farmers to suicide. The government made efforts to help by employing people on a food for work program by which they would dig canals, make reservoirs, and plant trees. It also promised the farmers helping in getting their debts repaid. In 2005, the rains finally came and the situation in Andhra Pradesh started improving. Then you have landless laborers. Who are these? All kinds of farmers need land to grow or raise animals. Some farmers own a particular land that they are tilling. Others take the land on rent from a rich landowner and give him an annual rent or a part of the produce depending on what their agreement is. Most farmers in India own less than an acre of a land because they are poor. A number of farmers who have lost their land go to work on other people's land, and these farmers who do not have land of their own and are working on someone else's farm, they're called as landless laborers. Then you have seasonal migration. Farmers should practice forestry, animal rearing, fishing, poultry, and horticulture apart from grain farming so that they can fall back on other means of income in case of a drought. Most farmers who practice subsistence farming travel to cities in search of jobs in the season when crops do not grow. From the time of sowing to the time of harvest, these farmers stay in villages tending to their crop. Especially at the time of harvest, a number of farmers who have lost their land also tend to return to their villages to help out with the harvest and make some extra money this way. A very sad thing happens as a result of this seasonal migration. The children of farmers frequently end up missing school, and a number of them eventually drop out. Now we talk about variation in food choices. As we have studied in the previous chapter, that food habits are now changing. Changing food habits, of course, is not good for health, and a lot of farmers are opting for to plant cash crops on their cropland instead of basic items. So by growing cash crops, farmers make a little more money than they would otherwise, but they end up spending also more money on buying food to feed themselves and their families. Shortage of food. The farmers working on other land work in their field in the field to grow crops. For all hard work, they get very little. So little that they cannot even buy enough rice to feed their family. Imagine some months they do not get any work at all. Then they have to eat leaves and roots from the jungle. Their children remain hungry and and a few of them also die. Most rice grows in Khalahandi district. Rice is even sent to other states from here. Many times the rice that keeps lying in the godowns, it also gets spoiled. Even though our country has the capacity to produce enough food, many cannot afford it because they are poor or they are unemployed. Another major issue is that our population is growing fast and traditional farming methods cannot produce enough food. And then you have natural disasters also. And when a large number of people are starving because they do not have enough to eat, it is called as a famine, and it could be caused by climatic disasters such as drought or flooding, as well as damage to crops by pest or disease. A drought happens when water levels in the ground or the lakes or the reservoirs. What happens? It goes down due to the lack of rain. And then, of course, you have things like flood. So one famine that we are going to discuss about is the Bengal famine. What happened here? In 1943, over 3 million people died in a famine in Bengal, which was caused not by natural factors but by human actions. So imagine, even human actions led to a famine. And who suffered? It was the human beings themselves. At that time, India was under British rule. Britain was fighting the Second World War against Germany, Italy, and Japan. The British burned the whole fields. They burned the entire fields as they were afraid that Japan would enter India through Bengal. They prevented ships from Burma from entering the Calcutta port. These ships brought in much needed rice supplies in the wartime, and their loss was felt quite strongly. Fishermen were not allowed to fish in the rivers. Many rice and jute farmers could not ship their goods out to the market. This meant that many villages could not have food even though there was enough available. The British government bought all the supplies to feed the army. So many villagers, they ran out of food. British government also blocked grain from coming into Bengal from other parts of the country to make sure that in case the Japanese enter the country, they would not have enough food to eat. Imagine. So just to protect from external attack, the British government decided that even if people are dying, it's absolutely fine. And as a result, a lot of people, they lost their life. When we talk about wastage of food, a few of us do it. Yes, we do. So let's say we sometimes it's our tendency to to fill our plate to more than its capacity. And once we start eating, midway we realize, oh, we cannot eat that much, and we leave it. But have you ever thought there are some people who struggle to get even 3 meals of the day? And what do? We waste food. And it is wrong. Nearly 6 million people starve in the world every day, and hunger kills 12 million children worldwide. So, next time when you think about wasting food, imagine you have actually taken maybe from someone else's plate and now you are wasting it. So, a simple golden rule to this is only fill in your plate as much you think you can eat. In fact, you should fill your plate lesser than the amount of what you can eat. Because if you're feeling hungry, you can again go and serve yourself. You can feed yourself again. But do not waste food. Distribution of food grains among people. The government now has the public distribution system. It is also called as PDS for distributing grains to people in terms of drought. Grains are brought from farmers in the open market and stored in granaries or sold through fair prices shop at less than the actual price. These grains must be stored well, of course, otherwise probably the rats or the rodents can eat them and the entire grain can be spoiled. Earlier, all households were covered in the public distribution scheme. through the ration card system, but now only the poor families are covered in it. Children are given midday meals at government schools, and this midday meal scheme was started by the government as a tool to encourage poor students to come to school. Children below the age of 5 are given supplementary nutrition in pre-primary schools. So imagine this food that you eat every day. It has a long journey. So we need to respect it and we should never ever waste it. All right. Thank you so much.